Welcome back to the Enfield Talking newspaper. Now we return to local news with Janet.
The owners of a railway station coffee shop scheduled to close after their lease expired have perked up after it was given a last-minute extension into the new year. Karen Mercer and Gunter Hulstein were due to grind their last coffee beans at my coffee stop in Enfield Chase Station on Christmas Eve to concentrate on their other business in Somerset. They have served up caffeine-based drinks and snacks at the Independent Cafe to passengers at the Enfield Chase for the past 7 years. They were serenaded by opera singer Geoffrey Strum when they were named as one of the 10 best-kept secrets in London by Classic FM in 2010. The couple asked station management agents Travel Point Trading if they could continue working at the shop until a new tenant is found through a tendering process, which could take a couple of months. Ms. Mercer said they did not feel that the fee they were asked to pay would make the arrangement cost-effective, and instead she was expecting to say goodbye to her customers on Christmas Eve. But following an inquiry by the Advertiser, she received a last-minute phone call to discuss new arrangement for the business to remain for the time being. She said she'd been expecting to say goodbye to all her regulars and shut up shop for the last time on Christmas Eve, but instead we've been told we can stay until the new tenant comes. It's good news for the customers. This is going to be much better, as it means there's still going to be somebody there. It's good for the customers, as there will be continuity of tenant. She said she was pleased that the shop on Platform 1 would not be left empty, and added, "So many people have been saying such nice things." The festive news means that although the last coffee of 2015 was served up just before noon on Christmas Eve, the shop was opened at 6 a.m. on Monday in time for the return to work rush.
Imprisoned by Nazi captors during World War II, Major Alexis Kasdagli nurtured his steely fighting spirit through the surprising medium of needlework. His pieces begged or borrowed thread from disintegrating pullovers stitched onto scraps of canvas were not just a way to pass the time, explains his daughter Alexis, who lives in Bounds Green. One embroidery even spells out a defiant message to his captors. What looks like an innocuous decorative pattern is actually a scornful insult conveyed in secret via Morse code. The Nazi soldiers kept him captive, unwittingly displayed the embroidery for years. When I was younger, my father would talk about his embroideries, so I always knew about them, said Alexis. But I don't think I understood their significance or how special they were. Like so many men of his time, Dad never spoke about the war, these embroideries, but also historical documents. Alexis decided to begin reading her father's wartime diaries one cold January evening in 2012. Her father's words prompted shock and tears, as well as a swelling pride with each turn of the page. I didn't know how brave he had been and how much he had suffered, said Alexis, who was born after the war. He was given a tunic, but otherwise remained in the summer khakis in which he was captured in Crete. It was minus 19 degrees centigrade and he had bare legs. He was imprisoned with a Greek-speaking general, and my father also spoke Greek, so he helped him out. That was why the general gave him some wool from his jumper. Then the squadron leader gave him a square of canvas. The Geneva Convention specified that prisoners were not able to work, so boredom really was the thing. Through reading his diaries and studying his work, Alexis says she got to know my father before he was my father. She has published his memoirs, called Prouder Than Ever, in a book published by Silex Press. In an entry dated the 1st of June 1942, the first anniversary of his capture, Major Kasdagli wrote, "Before fancy and imagination take too firm a hold, I want to get down on paper the true facts, a story which no one but myself can write. The sampler with the now famous message has been covered by a host of national newspapers and displayed at the Victoria and Albert Museum. While sewing maintained Major Casdagli's sanity and bolstered a sense of defiant hope, food parcels from the Red Cross kept him alive. That's what kept the men going, confirms Alexis. They contained things such as dried egg, corned beef and very dry biscuits. Embroidery was, she says, a highly unusual hobby for a man in those days, but her father had run a textile business before the war broke out and knew a little about sewing. For the rest of his life, he embroidered for 2 or 3 hours a day, says Alexis. The last piece he made for me was when he was 87. It was a simple geometric design which read, "To my darling daughter, your loving dad." Some of his designs were traditional, others people drew for him. I think he knew they would prove to be important historical documents, but another big part of what he was doing was to boost morale. People would come in, see them hanging up, and laugh. To laugh while being held captive is to become more powerful, if only for a second. Alexis, a former actress, playwright and artist, has lived in the borough for 12 years. It's a lovely place, she said, and has been perfect for my time travel. I do find it difficult sometimes to look through all my father's things, but it is wonderful too. Sometimes, up late at night, I feel the pressure, not just from Dad, but from all those men who I feel are queuing up to be remembered. In the interest in his diaries, embroidery and his life is incredible. I'm completely overwhelmed by it and enchanted by it.
I had the pleasure of seeing Claudio Vilcu score a late winner for the second successive match as Enfield Town beat Brentwood Town 2-1 at the Queen Elizabeth Stadium to climb into 6th place in the Ryman Premier Division table. The central defender had struck in the last minute to enable Town to overcome Wingate and Finchley by an identical scoreline on Tuesday last week, and he again left it late to seal maximum points in this encounter after Bobby Devine's opener had been cancelled out by Brentwood's Tom Richardson. Getting the 3 points was the main thing, said manager Bradley Quinton. I was pleased to get another late winner because we've lost so many points this season to late goals. We are 6 points ahead of where we were at this stage last season, and there is no reason why we shouldn't be looking to at least get into the playoffs. We've had a sticky patch and managed to come through it. Full credit has to go to the lads for the way they've corrected things. Sterling work by groundsman Jack Lucas ensured that the game took place despite persistent heavy rain, and it was Town who made the brighter start, being unlucky not to break the deadlock on 15 minutes when Evans Kusai's low cross was volleyed against the bar by Corrie Whiteley. But relegation threatened Brentwood managed to weather the storm and came more into the match as the half progressed, with homekeeper Nathan MacDonald doing well to thwart Shad Nagandu when he found himself through on goal. It was Town who made the breakthrough on 38 minutes, though, as Devine floated a free kick goalwards from some 40 yards out, which evaded everyone and beat the despairing dive of keeper Andrew Plummer on its way into the bottom corner. Despite their lowly position in the table, the visitors reacted well to falling behind and took the game to Town at the start of the second half, almost getting back on level terms when Mitch Hahn's curling shot struck the bar on 50 minutes. And Brentwood were rewarded for their pressure with the equaliser on 64 minutes as Richardson turned in Nagandu's low cross. The visitors failed to carry the same attack threat after this, though, and Devine should have done better for Town when he stabbed wide after racing clear on goal. However, clear-cut chances were at a premium, and the game appeared to be petering out into a draw until, with 89 minutes on the clock, Phil Lowen's cross to the far post was headed home by Vilku to snatch maximum points for the hosts as they claim their 7th win in their past 8 league matches. The work that Jack does on the playing service is tremendous, Quinton added. The games come thick and fast on the pitch, and it's full credit to him that he manages to get it in such good condition. Meanwhile, Town have secured a big boost off the pitch after signing a 99-year lease on the Queen Elizabeth Stadium to guarantee their long-term future at the ground in Donkey Lane.
Here is another article about a swoop by Trading Standard officers who've clearly been working hard on our behalf. Trading Standards officers from Enfield seized more than 20,000 potentially lethal electrical goods in a raid on a warehouse. The haul included laptop chargers and adapters, Christmas lights, disco lights, shavers, nail drills, UV gel nail dryers, sat-navs, PC tablets, walkie-talkies and other electrical products which had been imported from China and other countries outside the European Union. The raid was part of a national project funded by National Trading Standards aimed at combating dangerous imports being sold in the UK, many of which do not meet stringent EU safety standards. The Trading Standards officers from Enfield were part of a team of 22 Trading Standards officers from across London who also worked with police, customs and immigration staff. More than 30 pallets containing more than 20,000 potentially dangerous products were seized, and the directors of the company in question are now subject to a criminal investigation. Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for the Environment, Daniel Anderson, said, "There is no doubt in my mind that these products would have been given as gifts by unsuspecting customers at Christmas or used to decorate homes around the borough by people completely unaware of the potential risks involved."
Campaigners have renewed pleas for a ban on lorries on a busy road after a fatal accident. A 68-year-old man, Mahendra Patel from Enfield, died after he was involved in a collision in Ballsmore Lane at 2:20 p.m. on Friday the 18th of December. Rosemary Ruya has launched an online petition calling for lorries to be banned from the road. She said Ballsmore Lane was never built for heavy lorry traffic. We need to divert these lorries. We are over the EU air pollution limit on the road. In her petition on the change.org website, she also called for a direct link between Mollison Avenue and the M25 to ease the volume of traffic in Ballsmore Lane. More than 100 concerned residents attended a community meeting in October together with Enfield North MP Joan Ryan to discuss their concerns with representatives from Enfield Council, Transport for London, the Greater London Authority and Epping Forest District Council. Residents also called for a meeting with the Secretary of State for Transport, Patrick McLaughlin, when he visited the area in the run-up to last year's general election. He said that looking at the road would be on his list of priorities. At the time, Ms. Ryan said she was committed to working with residents and to fight for the improvement required as long as it takes.
The team at the heart of the borough's sustainability ambitions has been shortlisted for an award. After putting together a programme for how Enfield can create a sustainable and green economy by 2020, the Council's team has been nominated as finalists in the Team of the Year award run by the Local Government Chronicle. The judging panel revealed that one of the deciding factors in choosing who made the shortlist was the strong teamwork that led to the creation of the Enfield 2020 Sustainability Programme. Alan Sitkin, Cabinet Member for Business and Regeneration, says this programme puts Enfield ahead of many local authorities in terms of reducing the borough's carbon footprint and lowering energy emissions. He said, with more than 50 large-scale sustainability projects and over £1 billion being invested by Enfield Council and partners in this agenda, we are making a real difference to residents, businesses and visitors. We have put sustainability at the heart of our economic development strategy, nurturing a green tech industry that will give our people and entrepreneurs an excellent chance to succeed in the growth sectors of the future. We are also establishing an energy from waste heating company that has become a model for the rest of the country. At the same time, we have reduced the council's carbon footprint by 35% over 5 years and supported our communities in achieving great energy savings, including through our ambitious housing programme. Nick Golding, the editor of the Local Government Chronicle, said, to be shortlisted for an LGC award shows that a council's work in this particular area is something that can inspire the rest of local government.
Under half of GP practices have a service to help deaf people know when they have an appointment, a report has found. The report by health watchdog Health Watch Enfield found that only 23 of the 51 practices in the borough had a hearing loop at their site. In addition, only 26 GPs had information about how to register at the practice as a new patient. The report also found under half of practices give any privacy at the reception desk for patients who might feel uncomfortable explaining an issue. As documented in Health Watch Enfield's Improving Services for Deaf Patients in Enfield report earlier this year, local deaf people have previously reported that many GP services in the borough do not have a hearing aid loop. These findings support that claim. Lorna Reith, Health Watch Enfield Chief Executive, said, "We are encouraged that many of the measures available to practices to improve the experience of the patients are common throughout the borough. However, there are still improvements that can be made across the board, and we hope that practices respond positively to today's report and remedy areas where they are lacking, especially with regard to hearing loops, privacy at the reception desk, and providing registration information." The report was described as generally encouraging.
An Enfield man charged with 3 others over an alleged plot to spring 2 convicts from a prison van close to Wood Green Crown Court last month was further remanded in custody at Woolwich Crown Court recently. Erin Hayer, 25, of Kettering Road, Enfield Lock, is accused with the others of trying to help Izet Erin, 32, and Erwin Amoya Gayamfi, 29, escape on their way to court. The failed attempt led to 28-year-old father of 2, Jermaine Baker, being shot dead by a police officer who has been arrested. Nathan Mason, 30, of Tottenham, North London, and Goke Sogyukalki, 19, of Tottenham, also faces charges of carrying imitation firearms and driving in a stolen vehicle. The 4th accused, Ozcan Erin of Wood Green, faces the same single charge of conspiracy with Hayer. They were all remanded for a plea and case management hearing at the same court on Monday, February the 29th. A provisional trial date has been set for Friday, May the 6th.
Concerned parents are calling for improvements to a busy town centre crossing. They've banded together as the Safer Crossing Action Group and are holding a meeting to discuss their worries about the crossroads at the junction of Parsonage Lane and Baker Street in Enfield Town. Alison Payne said parents want to see pedestrianised lighting at the crossing, or at the very least a much longer delay, giving sufficient time to cross. She said at school drop-off times there was not enough time for parents and children to cross the road safely to take pupils to St Andrew's Primary School via the entrance in Baker Street. She said it's an accident waiting to happen. Everyone is worried. She described how parents she had spoken to were unanimous in their concerns about the crossing. At the school times there's a surge of us and we can't all stand in the middle of the crossing. There have been reports of minor injuries. She said she wanted something done before there were any serious incidents. She described how motorists sometimes jumped the amber lights at the crossing, which made getting across the road even more risky. She's contacting staff and parents of pupils at Enfield Grammar School to invite them to add their voice to the calls for improvements. Mrs. Payne said that a lot of older people lived in the area and wanted the wider community to get involved in the campaign. She has met Enfield Council officers and Town Ward Councillor Joanne Lebain to discuss her concerns.
A campaign group for Enfield's over 50s says it has been vindicated over concerns about an online mail-order pharmacy after technical problems meant some patients faced uncertainty as to whether they would receive the medication they had ordered over the Christmas and New Year period. Dr. David Geddes, Head of Primary Care Commissioning for NHS England, wrote to GP practices just before Christmas, warning that some using Pharmacy to You would be unlikely to receive their medicines until January the 11th. Mr. Geddes, who is putting in place arrangements to reduce the risk and inconvenience to patients, said the situation was unacceptable. The Enfield Over 50s Forum has campaigned against the free digital delivery service provided by Pharmacy to You, whereby those with the authority to prescribe medication, such as GPs and practice nurses, can send prescriptions electronically to any dispenser the patient chooses. The forum believes it undermines the role of the local pharmacist in offering personal help and advice to patients, as well as being ready to deliver medication to the homes of those with mobility issues. NHS England should not, in my view, be offering to help Pharmacy to You rectify the situation, but should immediately withdraw the company's NHS recognition, which I cannot see has any positive role within the health economy, said Forum President Monty Meth. It has failed to meet the needs of its main target market, the frail, elderly, vulnerable people, many living alone, who may have had some difficulty in getting out for their prescription to be dispensed, he added. The Forum wants Enfield and Southgate MP David Burrows and Enfield North MP Joan Ryan to take up what it claims is outrageous evidence of incompetence with Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt. A statement on the Pharmacy to You website apologises and blames the delays on unforeseen difficulties in transferring to our new automated dispensing centre.
A councillor has blasted incompetent traffic bosses for the state of temporary traffic lights. One of the signals at the junction of Silver Street and Stirling Way in Enfield, at the turn-off from the A406 North Circular Road, is almost bent completely over, and another sits inside temporary concrete barrels rather than fixed to the road. Councillor George Savor said, "I have received complaints from lorry drivers, bus drivers and driving instructors calling the lighting system unclear and difficult to negotiate. The traffic lights are not only dangerously leaning over passing cars, but the flooding situation is an additional hazard. I got drenched whilst there, as passing cars cannot avoid the large pool of water. It has been like that for years and years. I have emailed Transport for London, but it did not even seem to bother to visit the area. I have had to put up with an incompetent TfL. TfL has done good work to get traffic moving across Enfield, but more needs to be done. It is just not on. A TfL spokesman said, "Our maintenance team have also checked and cleared the drains to prevent further flooding, and we apologise for any inconvenience caused. The whole junction is due to be modernised later in the year."
A sixth form academy played host to a senior diplomat. Oasis Academy Hadley sixth formers in Ponders End welcomed the US Ambassador Matthew Barzan, who was appointed to the UK by President Barack Obama in 2013. As part of the Current Affairs workshop, Mr. Barzan led a seminar on the position of the United States on the issues faced by today's generation. The seminar focused on US domestic and foreign policy, including issues relating to gun crime, the Middle East and immigration. Ambassador Barzan talked about the humanitarian nature of the country, emphasised by the 4 million refugees the US has taken in since 1980. Ambassador Barzan called his country a nation of immigrants, highlighting the 5 freedoms of the American Constitution. Student Janelle Dunkley said the ambassador's visit was an enriching and thought-provoking visit which enhanced our understanding of US politics. Another student, Barish Yildirim, said, "We really appreciate the ambassador visiting our school as he listened to our views and gave us a lot of information to think about." We've reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Janet, Sally, Colin, Keith and Robin on the controls, it's goodbye.
Bye.
Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diana Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking newspaper. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.